Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 364. Happy Sunday. I should be wearing my Chicago Bears hoodie in honor of Sunday football. We're back. I'm excited. I am excited about football, the NFL. Um, and it's not because, well, maybe partially because of Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Although he's not the starter, there's still some excitement behind drafting Fields and the Chicago Bears. So I'm excited. I'm excited about football just because it takes some of my attention away from Cubs baseball. It's been a tough year. I did watch yesterday's game. I watched most of yesterday's game. But yeah, it'll be nice to watch some football. I'm kind of excited about some of the rookies in 2021, like Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, and of course Fields. So I'm excited for some NFL football. I listed about just under 200 NFL rookies from 2020 into my eBay store last night. So I did the old file exchange, about 180 cards, I think. Um, so I have some of the Fanatics Phoenix, the Fireburst parallels. So I listed the top rookies last week. I'm gonna list the rest of the set, the commons, the semi stars and stars, and the rest of the rookies. So Zach says, yes, saw all those cards in your store. There wasn't I think the Bears had been picked through because I bought the those came from a bargain box that I bought, like the entire box from a card show in Rockford, which they are insane about the Bears. Um, when I did the first show in Rockford back in was it June? I think it was in June. Like everybody was wearing a Bears jersey. It was insane. Like we're in June. June is like the absolute dog days of the NFL season because you're a couple months after the draft. You're still, 6 weeks away from training camp. So it's like the absolute like dog days of the NFL. And here, everybody is wearing Bears gear. I was like, that was my biggest takeaway from that show was I can't believe all the people wearing Bears stuff. Um, so I think the only Bears card that was in that box was a Cole Kmet, like Chronicles rookie. So, but there was some good stuff like Laviska Chenault and Jerry Judy and some of the wide receivers in that class. There were a few Komets. Okay, there were a couple. Okay, um, so let's take it back to Friday. I went live on Friday morning. And then I went down to Lake in the Hills, Illinois for Club 400's return. It's been, gosh, I think 2 years since the previous party because of obviously COVID. Fortunately, I was able to see a lot of my Club 400 friends at spring training last year, right before COVID hit. So I was able to reconnect with some friends. Ryan Dempster was the guest. Ray Burris and Tim Stoddard also showed up. We were raising funds for Riker Cologne from Muscatine, Iowa, and raised over $30,000. 30,000 was like the minimum, but once they tally up because there's going to be auction, they had a live auction, a silent auction, and then all like the tips for the bartenders, like that all goes to the family as well. So once they tally up that, they'll have so it could be 40,000 or so raised for this family. So that's just super awesome. It was awesome to see. There's Mike. What's up, Mike? I went down my best friend since grade school, Scott, lives like 3 blocks away from Club 400. So and I shared that story. He'd never been. So he finally said this summer, he actually got to meet Stu right before we, took the van to the Cubs game. So he got to meet Stu for the first time and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to the next event. So he came with, we had a great time. He's like, I've seen all the pictures you post, but even the pictures don't do this justice. This is amazing. You just walk in and like everywhere you turn, there's like a piece of Cubs memorabilia that would be, and I think I have a decent Cubs collection, and everywhere I turn, it'd be like, well, that would be like the highlight of my Cubs collection. There's like Chris Bryant autographed baseballs on every wall. Now I have one Chris Bryant autographed baseball, and it's like in a case with a custom card because we had a selfie together at the Kerry Wood event, and that's like, it's on display. What's up, Dan? There's a so my I think my favorite talking about like centerpiece collection pieces. I think my favorite piece, and I noticed this a couple years ago. There's two bathrooms, and in one of the bathrooms, uh, on top of the medicine cabinet, tucked away in the corner, is a game used catcher's mitt autographed by David Ross. And it's just tucked away in the bathroom on top of the medicine cabinet, which that would be like the centerpiece of my Cubs collection. And here it is in Club 400, tucked away in the corner of a bathroom on a medicine cabinet. It's an amazing place. If you're in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, it's it's a charitable. It all goes to like, usually to local fundraisers. So even if you're not a Cubs fan or not a baseball fan, it's still a good event because it's all you can eat and drink. And it's a great time. The people are awesome. So I encourage anyone that's just go for one, just check it out one time, and you won't regret it. So we get there and get to see all my old Club 400 friends. Ryan Dempster was the key speaker. So I think one of the funniest takeaways was the whole plunking Alex Rodriguez, and he said I hit Alex Rodriguez because he was being an asshole. So that really fired up the crowd. That was fun. He did a great Q&A. I met Joe Kilgallen. Joe is a comedian in Chicago, and he was the MC. So we met before the festivities began, and we were just kind of talking. And I said, hey, by the way, during the Q&A, Ryan Dempster told a really great story about getting pulled over in Mesa at spring training with Ted Lilly. It's a great story. If he doesn't bring it up, I'll ask it in the Q&A session. So he's like, oh, that's awesome, we'll do it. So I asked the question, and I said, Ryan, was there any time maybe at spring training that you might have been pulled over and maybe a teammate like Ted Lilly was with you? So he laughed and shared the story, and he's like, thanks for bringing that up. That was a fun story. So we had a great time. Tim Stoddard, Ray Burris were there. I've met Ray Burris and hung out with Ray Burris several times over the last few years. He's an awesome guy. I have autographs of Ryan Dempster, Ray Burris, and Tim Stoddard. So I don't need a fourth autographed baseball of these guys. And I'm just not I'm not a card, like autographed card collector per se. Like in person, I'll take some as extras just to have something signed. But, for something like this, it's like, so I wanted to do something unique, and I was inspired by my buddy Arnie, who was there with his dad. And so Arnie and I go to the Cubs convention, and has this, it's like Night Over Wrigley. And and I actually have it framed on my stairwell. It's a photo of Wrigley Field, like at night, and it's like flashlights onto the field. It's a pretty famous photo. And so Arnie has a 16 by 20, and he has them. Has players signed in like silver paint pen or Sharpie, and it looks really cool. And so I wanted to do something like that, but at the Cubs convention, it's like you have to roll it up in a tube, and then when you get it signed, it can smear easy. So I didn't want to go through the headache of doing something like that. And especially with the one I have, maybe the one I have is 16 by 20 and his is smaller, 8 by 10. But at any rate, I didn't do that, but I thought the idea was cool. So I have my Cubs cardometer, which, by the way, I counted after I went live on Friday morning. I counted up my Cubs cards, 670,175 Cubs cards. No, they're not unique. There's some duplicates. I actually told Ray. Ray was sitting at the bar before everything began, and so we were just kind of talking. And he was very. I had the Cubs cardometer. He was very interested in what it was all about. So I shared the story of my Rick Russell because he was teammates with the Russell brothers in the 70s. And so I, told him the story about buying, 1,200 Rick Russell 1978 Topps cards. So I took the Cubs cardometer, 670,000. And so I decided maybe I should have players sign the cardometer. That would be pretty cool. So I decided to do the back since it's, all white. So they are signing. So that's the 3. And so I had Ray inscribe. He was the first. Ray Burris was the first Cub to sign the cardometer. So I had him inscribe first Cubs autograph, Ray Burris, and then Ryan Dempster and Tim Stoddard signed the Cubs cardometer. So I will take that to. So my plan is players that I already have, autographs of. I'll have them sign the cardometer. So like in the lines, like in the free autograph lines at Cubs convention, there's a lot of players that I just kind of skip over because I already have multiple signatures. Guy like Tim Stoddard or Steve Trout, Bob Dernier, some of these guys I have like just multiple autographs, and I'll look for like some unique photos. I had Tim Stoddard sign. Tim Stoddard was on the basketball team that won the national championship in the 70s, North Carolina State. So I found a photo of his basketball days at North Carolina State, and then there was also a picture his freshman year as a pitcher at NC State. And so he really liked that photo. He's like, "Where did you find this?" And I'm like, "Google," and printed it off. So I try to find unique photos because that's kind of like number 1 for autographs is baseballs. And then number 2 is like 8x10. And then, kind of last resort cards. And then, so now my third option, if I don't have, if I already have them on a baseball, or if I, don't have any photos, I'll have them sign the back of the cardometer. So that was, Ryan Dempster, Tim Stoddard, Ray Burris. Stayed up way too late. And I've talked about this, as I get older, I go to bed earlier. Last night I went up to bed at 9:30, by the way. So that just kind of shows you, I'm an early to bed type of guy. So they had 2 ticket tiers for the fundraiser. And one was just like the regular. And then there was a VIP where you could stick around for like 2 hours after the event. So the event was supposed to go until 10. And then from 10 to 12, 10 to midnight was the VIP. So my buddy's like, did you get the regular or the VIP? I go, we got the VIP, but it was just, for charity. I don't plan on staying till midnight, probably 10 o'clock. Like that's 10, maybe 11. Usually I'm in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I can't hang that late. So all of a sudden the festivities went pretty late. So all of a sudden, finished a beer and look at my phone, and it's like 11:25. I'm like, whoa, it's 11:25. We need to get home before we turn into pumpkins. So kind of said our goodbyes, and it's like, okay, let's roll. So I probably didn't, get to sleep until like midnight. I had another event Saturday for my wife's work that started at noon. So I drove home, and Sky woke up and went downstairs, and we talked for about an hour, and I'm like, shit, I gotta hit the road. So got home in time to shower, and it was perfect timing because we didn't go right at noon, but showered and changed and hit the other party. And the beer did not taste very good at noon. So I had a beer, and my wife had to run home, and she's like, "Do you want to stay here?" And I'm like, I'll just drop me off and you can go back. So I said my hellos to everybody, had a beer, and just kind of chilled the rest of the day. Although it was really warm, I didn't chill. It was hot yesterday. But I on the way home, I drive through. So I used to always kind of keep it a secret because I didn't want my honey hole to be discovered. But there's no such thing when it comes to retail baseball cards, trading cards, sports cards. There's no such thing as a honey hole today. So I can reveal my secret now. So whenever I would go to, I always take the back way, the back highways. I hate interstates. So if I can avoid, especially the interstate, and if you've ever driven from Madison to Beloit, Rockford, the interstate is just absolutely awful. Although it is much better now that they added a lane. So now it's like a 6-lane interstate as opposed to a 4-lane interstate. So that is better, but it's still like I would rather not. Like when I go back to Illinois, I take back roads, go through like New Glarus and Monroe and down through Freeport, or I'll take 78 down through Argyle and Blanchardville and into Stockton, Illinois, and down. So I just try to avoid the interstate at all costs. So I take, when I go to Crystal Lake, Lake in the Hills, or if I go to downtown, I'll just drive to Harvard, Illinois, jump on the Metra in. So I take that way, quite a bit because I go, Club 400 events, my buddy Scott's, or if I'm going to like Cubs convention or a game, I'll jump on the Metra. So what I discovered is there's a few Walmarts on the way. Like I can hit Janesville, and then I cut across and I can hit Harvard, and then even, Woodstock right before I turn to go to my buddy's house. There's a Walmart in Woodstock. So Harvard, I discovered a few years ago, had just an amazing card section. Like they had, so back in 2019, there were like clearance remember when Walmart had clearance boxes on cards? So in 2019, there were, and this was already after Acuna and Soto, there were 2018 Topps update, like in clearance boxes. And I'd grab like 10 or 12 of them for like, $12 out of the clearance box. The 2018 Topps Holiday, I picked up, so many of those. So it was my honey hole. Every time I went through, I'd stop at the Walmart in Harvard, Illinois, and there was always something good. So within the last year and a half, I really haven't gone through Harvard, maybe a handful of times, 3 times. I just haven't gone because everybody's discovered Walmart, Target in every nook and cranny of the nation. So I haven't gone, but I'm driving back and I'm like, I'm just going to check things out just in case maybe they have some football, because the first few weeks of the NFL season, I do enjoy opening football cards. And then that kind of goes away. But I'm going to see, maybe they have a couple football blasters, but more importantly, I was looking for supplies, and I can always use penny sleeves, and Walmart has the 500 penny sleeves for $6. So it comes out to like 1.3 cents per penny sleeve. But if you're buying them most anywhere, it's hard to find them for actually a penny a piece. In fact, my local card shop is now at 2 cents per penny sleeve. So I'm always looking for those because I can use those for my quarter boxes and just in general. So I stopped at Harvard on my way home yesterday, and they actually changed the card section, but it's been so long since I've been at that Walmart. So I'm like walking aimlessly, like looking down every checkout line to see where the cards were. So I had to actually double around. So I walked in where they, where cards typically are, but they weren't there. So I'm walking down, and as I realized, oh, they're on the other side. They're closer to the grocery section. So I walked down, which actually this Walmart is kind of flip-flop. Most Walmarts, like if you're facing Walmart, the grocery section is on the right, at least around here that I'm thinking of. So this one, the grocery section's on the left if you're facing the front doors of the store. So I realized, oh yeah, I remember it's on the other side, and it's not like next to the checkout counters. It's kind of in the middle of all of the registers, and it's like a whole like wall basically. So I'm walking, and they redesigned this store, so I can't find it. So I walk all the way to the grocery section, and boom, take a U-turn and go back and walk, on the other side of the cash registers. And I finally find them. If Walmart's kind of have like some Walmarts have like a magazine section in the middle of the registers, and it's kind of a horseshoe almost, where they have books and magazines in this horseshoe. Well, they have a horseshoe in the middle of the registers at this store, but it's not books and magazines. It's just kind of like everything. And so at the very back, there's a small card section, mostly Pokemon and Magic. But I did see there were a bunch of Allen and Ginter blasters, which I've had my fix, so I wasn't interested. And then it was truly a honey hole for supplies. Um, the only blasters they had for sports cards were Allen and Ginter, and then I think they had some like football stickers. But I don't think there was there wasn't even soccer or UFC, if there's any cards of that out right now. No other baseball, no football. So it was just the Allen and Ginter, but then the supplies, which is what I was really interested in. So they had a bunch of penny sleeves, and I'm like, are those top loaders or semi-ridge? And they are. A 200 count box of semi-rigids, and there was no price. And sometimes the card sections can be like just absolutely destroyed. Well, this was the case here. So I'm looking at the tags because I don't want to go, and there were like probably 10 of these boxes, and I'm like, I don't want to go buy like 10 of them, and they're $50. They're 25 cents per holder. When I can buy them for a quarter of that price. So I saw the box, and I'm like, okay. And it was right next to a bank of self checkouts. So, and there was a lady there, and said, excuse me, can I get a price check on this box? And it rings up as $25.98. I'm like, okay, thank you. So I had to rely on the old calculator to figure out, okay, what's $26 divided by 200. So it comes out to be 13 cents per semi-rigid, which is a pretty good deal. It's a little more than what I would pay for top loaders. I buy used for about 8 cents per top loader. I like to stick to around it's really hard to find new top loaders for 10 to 12 cents, but that's kind of to keep costs down. But you really can't find semi-rigids for that cheap. And so I do want to make a submission to SGC eventually. So gonna have to use these for that. So I just want to have some on hand. And it's not like I had a bunch of people ask me on Twitter, what are you going to use those for? So it's like, well, right now they're just going to sit, and I will use them. I do need them. But any chance I can get to find top loaders or semi-rigids at a good price, I'm going to buy them and tuck them away, because I go through them, with my eBay store constantly. And then for these, they'll come in handy for submissions to SGC eventually, whenever I decide to do that submission. So they were 25. So I bought 2 of them. Bought 2. So I've got 400. So I'll just put these on a shelf somewhere, and so they're kind of my backup. So if you're near Harvard, Illinois, there's probably 8 more of those boxes. And also I got like 3 or 4 packs of the 500. So, a couple thousand penny sleeves, which I can always use for my quarter boxes. Zach says, headed to your homestead, Louisville, Kentucky today. Awesome. That is where the Thompson family, that's where they kind of settled. And from there, they just went all over. But yeah, that was kind of where, I'm trying to think of, Louisville is right where, most of my family was from. But then there was some small town like Hopkinsville, somewhere around there. That's where a lot of them settled. Dan says, I'll send you the CS2s I accidentally bought. Awesome. I can always use those. Mike says, Harvard was my spot too for a while when I got back into collecting last year. The secret got out and I stopped going after the crowd started to invade. And I that's the thing. Like I had a feeling that once word got out and that was going to be kind of a reoccurring thing at every, small rules. So that was the best. Like, when I would take trips and like I said, I take like back roads, and when I take the back roads, I can take some routes that get me to, several Walmarts between here and where I grew up near the Quad Cities. So I would, when they were like restocking 2018 Topps Holiday, and it wasn't restocking, it was more of, we have all of this inventory, we're just gonna put it out there, and it was discounted for like a blaster box was I think $15, and this was in 2019. I think it was late summer 2019. So there was one trip back, and I think I did take the interstate because there's actually more stores along the interstate. And I picked up like 28 blaster boxes at like 4 or 5 different stores of 2018 Topps Holiday, because I could hit up Princeton, Illinois, and then LaSalle, Peru, and then I took 39 up, and then I think I hit one of, might have been Rockford, and then Janesville, and I think those were, and then maybe even one of the stores in Madison. But I stopped at like 4 or 5 stores and was able to pick out, like 28 Topps Holiday boxes. Whitewater was another spot. Interesting. I've never been to the Whitewater. I've never been to Stoughton. I've never been to the Stoughton Walmart either. So yeah, some of those off the beaten path. Well, now it's like everybody's going to all these smaller Walmart stores. But yeah, back in the day, you could find these honey holes in Harvard or Whitewater or Princeton or wherever. It was great. So found those supplies. Added the football cards to the eBay store. And I think that was my weekend. That was pretty much my weekend. So today I got to catch up on some more eBay shipments. Watch some football. Go Bears. I think they're in the night game with the Rams. So watch football throughout the day. And I am going to list those Phoenix Fireburst. There's about 180 that I have left, 190 maybe, because I've listed a few. So I'll be putting those on. So I'm going to do some football here now that NFL season. That'll be kind of my target this week. My eBay store. So my goal for October 1st was getting to 6,000 listings. I was doing really well. Like last week, I got up to 3,800, and then all of a sudden, before my upload last night, I was down to like 3,600. Which, because the more inventory I enter, the more my daily sales go up. So when I started this plan, I was at 33 sales per day. Now I'm over 38 sales per day. So that number keeps rising. So it's getting harder and harder. I've got 18 days left before October 1st. And I still have, a couple thousand cards to get uploaded. So it's going to be difficult. So I do plan on this next weekend. I'm going to go down to Illinois and visit Mike Summer, Wax Pack Hero, at his shop. He's got some Cubs for me. So by next weekend, this number might turn to 700,000. That would be really cool, because that was my goal for end of year. So the end of 2021, my goal was 700,000. And much like last year, I hit my goal right at like October 1st, right for the fourth quarter. So that's when I really started to push my eBay store. So I could really focus on the eBay store. And that's kind of been my focus all 2021. I've just had some really big additions to, David. I think he's let's see, I think I did a February and maybe one other one that was like 60,000 Cubs cards. So there's been some big additions this year that have gotten me closer. So that's great. So I can really, hammer down, get to that 6,000 mark. So the next couple of weekends are going to be busy. Going down to Bloomington, Illinois next Saturday, and then the following Saturday, September 25th, is the Madison Card Show, Sheraton Hotel. I know we do have already confirmed a couple new vendors that have not set up, so that's exciting. Mike, by the way, how was the Rockford Card Show? The Rockford Card Show was yesterday. Obviously not able to attend with what I had going on. But the Rockford Card Show was yesterday. So I think I'll definitely be in for next month. Huge thanks for the podcast info and advertising tips. Big difference from the August show. That is awesome. Love to hear that. Love to hear that it was a good show yesterday. That's awesome. What's the October date? Let me know the October date, because I do have a couple weekends where I cannot. October's filling up fast as well, because I may the first weekend in October, I might be able to swing. My wife and mother-in-law are going to Chicago, but that means I'm on doggy duty, but maybe I can find a friend to watch the dog during the day. October 9th, okay, that is the weekend my wife's out of town, so I can probably swing that. I'll just need to find a dog sitter. So yes, I think I should be in for October 9th. And then the following weekend, we have a celebration of life for my friend Robin. That's on October 16th. And then October 23rd is the Madison Card Show again. So it's like, usually this is how my May, June, July work. And now it's kind of the opposite. It's like my August, September, October weekends are filling up so fast. Dan asked, why am I going to Bloomington? So Dan, I'm going down to Bloomington next weekend to visit Mike Summer. I'm going to check out his card shop. He has a bunch of Cubs cards for me. He asked, he's like, should I bring these to the National? And I'm like, no, for your sake and mine, absolutely not. I don't want to lug around 30,000 cards, and neither do you. So we were both not gracious. We were both grateful that we agreed on that. And I want to check out his card shop anyway. So gives me an excuse to head down to Bloomington. And then, so after I visit his shop, I'll go to my mom's house, visit family, afterwards. Value boxes were popular. Ooh, that is music to my ears. That is music to my ears. So that's something I think for my next Madison show, I think I'm going to something that Ken mentioned after my first or second show was maybe I had too many boxes. And so now all of my bargain boxes that I have, I think I've added, a couple thousand each show, but I think maybe I'll pull back some and bring out some new. And so I think maybe an angle I might take is I may have just one monster box, and I may have a sign that says all new in September. So that way because I know I have repeat customers month after month, so they don't have to waste their time going through boxes and grabbing piles after pile that they've already looked through in previous shows, where they can just go, oh, hey, I've been to the last 2 shows. I'm going to look at this box. So I think that's the angle I'm going to take for the show in 2 weeks is I'm going to have a monster box devoted to all new cards for the month of September. So that's my strategy. I may like some of the baseball boxes because I have like 16 bargain boxes, and I would say probably 10 or 11 are baseball. So I may just hold those back. Not all, but like maybe only take half of the baseball boxes and really try to ramp up football and basketball, since we're now in football season and basketball is right around the corner. Mike says, I have a new vendor for your show too, probably in October. Excellent. That's awesome. So yeah, September, what did I say? 25th? Yeah, 14 days. September 25th will be the next show, Sheraton Hotel in Madison. So that's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. Watch some football. And go Bears. Have a good one. And I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow or not. We'll see. Kind of weekdays are going to be kind of up in the air for the next couple weeks. But I should have some news to share in the next couple weeks. So that's exciting. So stay tuned for that. And again, have a good Saturday. Or wait, Sunday. Have a good Sunday.